What's the structure of your coaching sessions?
We'll start by setting our intentions and what I call getting into our coaching arena. So it's a quick little walkthrough that I walk my clients through, so we're centered with each other in the conversation. And then each session, the client is required to bring in what it is they want to be coached on for each session, in terms of the scope of what we're working toward, their vision. It could be anything. But the point is, we coach on one specific topic. And the reason we do that is to really focus the brain and focus ourselves in on the specific set of outcomes, actions that we want the client to take. And whatever that specific topic is that the client brings in, kind of the process and the practice that they're going to be in with that topic bleeds into everything that they're going to do. It's, again, we are one whole being, we're one holistic person. When we learn a process applied towards one outcome, we can utilize and use that process in every area of our life that holds meaning. So I require a client to bring in a specific topic. If they're not clear on that, then we'll start the session by getting clear on it, what it is they would like to produce, where they want to gain more clarity or design some actions towards for that session. And then we start to go through a little bit of what we talked about already, the process of dismantling old belief systems, or we're going to look at what really is getting in the way or challenging them from going for it authentically.
What if I come to you and I want to be a, quote, multi-hyphenate? Well, I want to do a children's book, I want to be a screenwriter, and I probably want to do some TV and things like that. And I'm sort of all over the place. Mm-hmm. What would be this one thing that I'm coming to you about? Is that more about my writing in general or getting closer to this? I mean, what if you see someone that's just kind of like all over the map? How do you bring them back to that one intention?
Really great question. For people who consider themselves multi-potentialite or master of many things, Renaissance people, right? Like, I always think of Steve Martin because he's an amazing ukulele player, comedian, right? He's a actor, he's an author, and I really believe we can do it all. But there's a process to doing it all, right? And it takes prioritizing, and it takes focus and clarity. It takes skills to be able to do it all, but we absolutely can. So if a client comes to me with many ideas or talents in their wheelhouse, I want to know what the vision is that they are holding for themselves. Where do they see themselves bringing their talents, or what is it that would they love to be doing? Even for now, not for the rest of their lives. Where would you like to take this? And then we just start to prioritize. And we look at, what are you currently working on, or what is something that's current or contemporary of interest for you? Because really, it doesn't matter where we start, it matters that we get started. I mean, trust me, the starting point is the hardest part for everybody, just to get started. So we'll spend a little bit of time looking at priorities or looking at what's current for them. We're going to create that space for them to see that, but it's really, really important that we get started on one of those ideas. And more typically, I work with a lot of multi-potentialites. What typically happens through longer-term coaching process with me is my artist will start to find their way home towards what it is they want to be doing in a more full-time capacity. And these other areas or interests don't fall aside, but they find their place in their life where it really fits into their flow and their process. Because what we're coaching them on and what we're training them on is to be in complete alignment with their creative process. And that is something that you can apply to everything. So perhaps they have a vision of being a multi-potentialite artist, but they also really want to support themselves financially with their art, and they want to have a high-level lifestyle and be able to own a car and a home, whatever that looks like. We're going to start walking a path that's going to bring them towards where most of their values are housed, and see what emerges from that.
How frequent are your coaching sessions? If I were to sign up as this fine artist or screenwriter, where do you usually start people out, or it's based on their need?
I have two structures I work in most of the time, but all of my coaching is bespoke to what the client needs. But the two structures they can fit in most of the time are meeting every other week for an hour-long session, and this is via Zoom, with a 30-minute phone check-in in the in-between weeks. So we're touching base every week, but we're not having full-length sessions every week. The check-ins are really supportive for the accountability and for the partnership, the development of the partnership between us. I'm not your leader ever. A coach is not your leader. They are not your teacher. A coach is your creative partner. Think of yourself as like the CEO of your vision, and you're building a strong team to get you there. Just like the CEO of a company, and you have the head of marketing and you have the head of finance, you have a team that drives the ship. So a coach is on your team, and it's someone who holds you accountable to the vision, keeps the runway clear, and helps you really get there by taking you through each step of your creative process. It's not my creative process. It's each individual one. So we'll meet that way. We'll meet 1 hour long session, 30-minute phone check-in. And another structure I offer, which works for other people who are really invested in doing the deep work in between sessions, is we'll meet once a month for 3 to 6 months for a 2-hour session at the top of the month, plus check-ins along the way a little bit. But that's kind of like a strategy session. It's like a really big chunk. It's almost like a virtual retreat that we're getting a lot of work done that they can apply for the rest of the month, for the following 3 weeks. And for all my packages, there's consistent email and phone support between each session. We're in touch. Like, I'm in relationship with you for the duration of our partnership.
What type of homework assignments do you give your clients?
That's a great question. I don't assign homework, but my clients will see their authentic next action to take out of each session. That's their work to do.
Ah, okay.
I'll suggest, for example, I have a monkey mind symptom tool, and I suggest look at this once a day, start to become familiar with how this sounds, what these symptoms are. For example, comparison, rationalization, scarcity. They can choose or not choose to review that. I always advise the more you review it and just familiarize yourself with it, the quicker you're going to catch your thoughts. But that happens over time anyway. Otherwise, there's no homework. They don't owe me anything. They see for themselves what it is they must do next. Because we've spent the session working towards creating that clarity for them to see. For example, in the example I gave you about the musician, when we saw that they were listening to a lot of fear conversations and didn't reach out to their family or friends about this show. And we started to dismantle where that was coming from, and we started to tell the truth of, does it mean you're a failed musician, or does it mean there's some more work to do? And they decided that their authentic next action was to schedule a show for a month later, give them time to practice, and then select, I think they selected like 12 friends to email, but they ended up emailing, I think, 20 people. And that was their next step. And the results were massive. I don't want anyone to take huge steps. That scares our brain, that shuts us down. What I want you to do is take the next authentic step that's in front of you. Coaching is like walking down here's a metaphor, a stone path in the middle of a lake where there's a heavy fog. And as you take each step, the fog lifts on the next stone. But the fog hasn't lifted for the next 10 steps. Just the next one that you need to take is right there in front of you. And that's called staying present with your path. Because you don't know if the stone path will lead you that way or lead you this way. You just know that it's leading you forward. And that when you're ready to see that next step, it will be revealed.
I like that. So if I'm a screenwriter and you're not necessarily assigning me homework, but there's some type of check-in of accountability. So maybe are you seeing, not necessarily did I write 3 pages in the morning every day for the last month, but did I reach out to some people about a project? Or I don't know, how would that work? What's the difference between the homework and the accountability?
Oftentimes I will be, like, I love when my clients send me their work or send me their portfolio if they're coming up to an interview or portfolio or anything like this. I'm not a critic and I'm not there to critique your work, but I'm a great accountability buddy for, I have a deadline. I owe Sasha my first 30 pages of my screenplay by next Thursday. And I'll check in, and it's not like, you're in trouble, you didn't send me. If people don't take their action step, it doesn't mean they failed. It means that there's something to be coached. And that's good information. Let's look at that. What got in the way of you sending me your pages? If you're a screenwriter, it means you love writing. It means that what you would love to do all day is write, is think of your story, is be in La La Land and put it on the page because you're good with words or you're gifted or you want to write. So if there's something getting in the way of what you love doing, that's great. There's a coaching topic there. Because ultimately we do what we do because we love it, because we're devoted to our craft. So if we're not taking action, it's not because we don't love it, it's because there's something coming up that deserves a little bit of our attention. So we can move it out of the way and get you back into the practice of what you love doing. And we don't always love what we do. Sometimes it's a labor, but that's the creative process, right?
Thank you for watching the video all the way to the end. Here is a complimentary question from our book Story Questions.